All right, guys, welcome into another episode of the Queen City Soccer Show. I am your host, Cole Godfrey, and joined as always by my co-host, Level Up Luke. Luke, how you feeling, man?
I'm doing good, man. We had a few days since this last game. Little chance to digest, hear from Dean, and talk about everything. And I'm sure we'll go through all the game stuff. I guess to start things out here, apologies to anybody that was waiting on the Twitter Spaces recording. That seems like there's a technical error and it wouldn't download. So I'm unable to post it. But if you go to my Twitter profile at LVLUP_Luke. You can play back the recording of that. We had a good time. Spoke for a little while. Heard from Len Cornacchia, Sam from Soccer Sheet. Give us a good rundown of the press conference. It was a nice little conversation.
Yeah, good deal. Obviously, late kick out in Seattle with
Yeah, that
game
was fun.
one. Yeah, so it was, a lot of people midnight. Like me personally, I had to work the next morning, so I was gone. As soon as that match ended, I was like, I'm going to bed now. So,
So I actually watched the earlier MLS game, Atlanta and Montreal, and I watched that with my 5-year-old son, who was into it. He was cheering for Montreal, doesn't like Atlanta, and Montreal stayed in it, man. It was a good one. He was fading out about, I don't know, 20, 30 minutes into that game even, and asked me to wake him up for the Charlotte FC game when that started. So I did, and he got up like a champ, and it was so funny, man. He gets up, slowly kind of wakes up, sees that soccer's on, gets into it, asks me to make a pizza. He gets some, Nestle chocolate milk, and he's just rocking and rolling, living his best life. And he started fading around halftime, but before he went to bed, he tells me, Daddy, we got to watch the second half in the morning when I wake up. So that made me just a happy sports dad. It was a great experience. Cool to share that with my son. With the 10:30 kickoff, it's pretty rough, but any chance you get to spend time with your kids and enjoy something like Charlotte FC, man, it's a great time.
but yeah, man, let's hop into it, Luke. Charlotte goes out to Seattle. Seattle's just coming off of a CONCACAF Champions Cup match or previous in the week, and we're sitting some pretty big stars for this match, which I thought boded well for Charlotte FC, and I put that on Twitter. I mean, you had Jesus Ferreira and Paul Areola from that they just recently picked up in a transaction from FC Dallas, sitting on the bench, and yeah, I mean, I was fully. If you'd have told me before the game, Charlotte FC came out of Seattle with a draw, I'd have taken it. Don't get me wrong. Would I have liked the win? Of course, but I would have taken a draw. I mean, it's a fair result. And make no mistake, Seattle is a very very good team, and to walk out of there with a point, coming back home to face that city, which we'll discuss here in a little while, it's like okay, you know, it, it works out. We got a point. You stole one essentially, Luke. This was a horrible game. I'm gonna be completely. I'm not gonna hold anything back. I'm gonna be completely honest. This is just my opinion. People, if you don't agree, I'm sorry. Tell me about it. But I'm just saying, from a Charlotte FC perspective, this was not a good game for Charlotte FC. The creativity in the midfield was just not there at all. And obviously, Wilfred Zaha didn't travel, was in the United Kingdom for the birth of his child, which completely understandable. But with that, that means Kerwin Vargas is starting, and man, it was a very very lackluster performance, specifically in my opinion from the midfield. No Big Pat had no service. Just he didn't have a ball to him maybe twice in the whole match that I could recall. So yeah, in my opinion, not a good match for Charlotte FC. What say you?
Yeah, like you said, late kickoff. It was rainy. It's Seattle. I mean, that's 3,000 miles to travel. So the odds were kind of stacked against us just situationally. And the more that I've heard of the preseason rankings and previews, Seattle is one of those teams I'm hearing a lot of buzz that they could be the Supporter Shield winner for the league. It's a good team. They're strong. They're consistently good. This is a Seattle team that doesn't miss the playoffs. I feel like they're always in the Champions Cup every year, just about. I mean, that's a solid squad. And if you're going to test yourself against somebody, what better first game to have than a team that's that solid? And the fact that we managed to take a point away, if you'd asked me before the game, I would have been happy with that. But just the way that game played out, Dean said after the game, they just didn't deserve the win. They didn't play well. And I heard a little bit of Monday morning center backing, I guess you could say, from Dean Smith. And he was saying that the first goal for Seattle was actually offside, but we don't have offside tracking technology in MLS. There was a penalty on Pat that wasn't given in the second half. I understand all that, but just watching that game was disheartening. It didn't seem like we had a lot of connection. Malanda with the first goal of the season, just like last year, and that was fantastic on a header from a set piece, which we don't see a lot of. Pep Biel with a beautiful corner kick, and right before we had another corner kick in the second half, Dean subs him out of the game and leaves in Kerwin Vargas, who was struggling, and leaves in Liel Abada, the invisible man. I just, I know that Dean doesn't think the team performed as well as they should, and he's right. But I also wasn't super impressed with the coaching in this game either, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't. It's hard to criticize Dean, obviously, after what he did last year, and obviously, I try to have like a caveat here. This is the first match of the season. It's all the things that everybody would say. It's in Seattle. It's this is sad. It's this and a lot of. I mean, honestly, probably a lot of them are excuses. Me and you, we're a fan podcast. We're fans. We love this club, and we're going to share our opinions, wrong, right, or indifferent. And I'm not going to criticize Dean on a lot. I'm just not going to. He has to do some drastic stuff for me not to be in his corner. But I will say, I agree with you, man. I think the substitution for specifically bringing out Pep, who was, like I said earlier, the midfield was not good. It just wasn't a good performance from the midfield. The only one really good attacking player who was playing well, you subbed out and had the assist obviously on the Addison Malanda goal, and you sub him out. Kerwin Vargas you left in. Liel again. I want to touch on Liel here in a little bit, Luke, but I mean, this is Foot Mob ratings, and the highest person on the pitch, other than Malanda, who was the goal scorer at 7.9, was Ashley Westwood at 7.6. And that's something I want to dive into right now, actually, is Ashley Westwood's performance. Specifically in that first half, Seattle dominated this game. And the fact that you got out of there with a point, you know what? Pack it up, get on the plane, and go back to Charlotte, regroup, because you stole a point. But Ashley Westwood is a big reason why that first half, Charlotte was just soaking up pressure. And I cannot tell you how many times Georgie for Seattle on that left side of ours going up against Tim Ream just made Tim Ream look absolutely foolish. This was the worst performance I've seen from Tim Ream in a U.S. men's national team shirt and in a Charlotte FC shirt. I haven't watched a lot of him at Fulham, but even when I watched some at Fulham, this was the worst performance, in my opinion, of Tim Ream at this club. And Ashley Westwood, thank God for him being there. Without him, defending and tracking back, this game would have been out of hand in the first half. Ashley Westwood had some phenomenal. It was just there for a little bit, Luke, for probably for the first 15 to 20 minutes of the match. It seemed like every time I looked up, Ashley Westwood was clearing a ball out of the box. Ashley Westwood's clearing out of the box. And it was all coming down that side with Tim Ream just getting absolutely toasted.
Yeah, like you said, Georgie Manungo was tearing it up. The dude was on skates. He was just flying through on his right side. And Tim Ream, man, I feel like every time I saw him on the pitch, he was just spinning around in circles trying to track the game and just not keeping up with it. Privet, thankfully, was kind of a brick wall behind him, so Manungo could get a little bit of separation between him and Ream, and then Privet would step up and ice it down.
Editor's note: Jordan Morris did score against Andrew Privet, arguably twice. Second one was debatable offsides that was not reviewed, but that's Jordan Morris. He is an MLS great.
So, love to see Andrew Privet, the Terminator. coming back this season, looks good. Obviously, Melanda there in the middle, great center back pairing. Manungo's a problem.
And Jordan Moore's
Yeah, player of the match in my book. Just give him his flowers. It was tough to watch, man. Tim Ream, like I said, just spinning in circles, and then Liel Abad on that side. I just was not impressed. Vargas over here on the Sofa Score ratings is at a 7.1. I think that's generous. I think that's a lot to do with his, stats production, but just the eye test did not back that up. I'd give him maybe a 5.5. He just wasn't effective, really, in large stretches of the game. I think that's the story of the match. Like, Charlotte was not effective for large stretches of the game. Nathan Byrne looked amazing. He's definitely coming back strong into this season. Pep Biel, I was pleasantly surprised. He was the only player in the first half that I thought could really get anything going offensively. So I'm excited to see what happens with Pep and how we deploy him moving forward. Ajman, it's tough to have a good game when you're not getting service. I don't know what else to say about that, really.
Yeah. I'm not going to put anything on Big Pat this match. I mean, obviously, you can try to create as a striker, but, dude, Charlotte was defending in their own half. I'm serious. It seemed like the whole first half was played in Charlotte's defensive third.
Yeah.
And, I mean, for a striker, definitely for a 9 who's out there on an island, it just doesn't bode well for you, specifically when you have a designated player on the right wing in Liel Abada who, we've gushed about Liel. We talked about this with the Charlotte Soccer Show guys. Liel has this tendency to go invisible, specifically in big matches where, other than maybe like the Atlanta United match last year, but in big matches, the guy seems to just kind of go invisible. And it was the same thing in this match. He get a 6.1 on Foot Mob rating. I mean, I think that's fair, man. He was not good. He got a yellow card on a silly challenge. He provided you, practically nothing. He really did. Even Kerwin provided more than Liel did in this match, in my honest opinion. And hopefully we get Zaha out there this weekend, and this attack looks what we expected it to look like. Because I think Zaha is that big of a deal. But someone else I wanted to touch on, Luke, that I thought was interesting, because we talked about it with Danny and Johnny, and did we think that Brant Bronico was going to be sat for Eric Williamson? And you and I believe it was Johnny both said yes, and because he's the shiny new toy. He played at Portland. They're playing against Seattle. And I like Eric Williamson, man. He's capped with the United States men's national team. He's a good player on his day. This was not his day.
No.
Eric Williamson, he played a 6.0 on Foot Mob. It was not good. Obviously got subbed out in the second half for Brant Bronico. And like I said, man, I prefer Brant. I just do. I don't understand, and this is another decision that Coach Smith made that I'm kind of, pondering, is Brant Bronico had the best preseason out of everybody on this team. And I don't think that's debatable in any way. Yeah, I don't think it's debatable. I don't get why you sit him when he's in that good of a form. Regardless, I understand that it's preseason. It's still soccer, and it's still games. When a guy's in a zone, you leave him alone. You just let him play, man. And I don't get that. I don't agree with it. And honestly, I think the results on the field, as far as the performance by Eric, and then when Brant came on, I think that is Brant's spot. That should be Brant all day, every day.
Yeah, like I said in the season preview, I saw Williamson starting this game, but I don't think he's going to be the season-long starter. I think Bronico is going to get more starts than him throughout the season, and there's not a lot you can take away from this game. I think Dean has probably said it. You just got to review the game film, grab a few nuggets, and just throw the rest of it out, because it just doesn't it doesn't represent what the team worked on in the preseason. It doesn't represent the strengths of this team or what they've carried over from last season in terms of the defense very well. And they know they have that in their bag. They've been training, they've been practicing. You look at this game, XG for Seattle, 1.78. XG for Charlotte, 0.52. It just wasn't close. It felt like a game that should have been a loss. Attacking momentum, you kind of talked about this a little bit. Seattle dominated the entire game minus really like one stretch from the 30th to 40th minutes. Other than that, like the attacking momentum is fully green on this match with a few little blips here and there. And that's just not the recipe for winning a game. So, you know, there's a saying in American football, you got to win your clunkers, and this was not a good match, but we come away with a point, so I'll take it. You're going up against Atlanta United next, so I just want the team to come back healthy, rest up from that long trip. Williamson's out with a some kind of a head cold or something. It seems like from the travel is what Dean was suggesting, and get him back healthy again. We're gonna need our horses. We're gonna need Wilfred Zaha to use that new dad strength on the pitch. I want to see Brant Bronico starting against Atlanta. I think the matchup is much more advantageous for a guy like Bronico, who's going to be just running them down constantly and grinding them, and that's what you need in that kind of a match with the salary and the players that Atlanta is bringing to the table.
Yeah, and I mean, I want to kind of touch on what you said about the statistics with the XG, and Seattle literally won every statistical margin in this match.
Oh yeah,
possession,
they controlled the game.
XG 1.78, total shots 18, shots on target 7, accurate passes 88%, and 7 corners to Charlotte's 4. This was you literally stole a point, and like we've talked about, you relied on and I said this on Twitter during the match. I was bashing their performance, which it is what it is. But I said I think it was about the 89th minute, 90th minute. I said, you know what? What's crazy is Charlotte still has a chance here to get a point. And I think it was Kyle on Twitter. He commented. He said, I can't remember what he said, but it was like something to the effect of like delusional or like yeah right or something like that. And it wasn't a minute maybe a minute later that they Toklamati. I do want to talk about him, but it was Kyle Smith. He said that's wishful thinking, LOL. And then Charlotte scored, and he said, I ain't gonna repeat what he said, but
you were quickly proven right. I love to see that optimism pay off.
Yeah, and as bad as Charlotte played, they were still in the game. A lot of that due to Christian Kalina. Christian Kalina made some big saves. Obviously Jordan Morris gets a brace, but that own goal that comes from Toklamati, just absolutely that pace on that right side, and just putting the ball in a dangerous area. You did have Kerwin over there at the far post. Obviously, it didn't reach him. Gomez stuck his foot out, and luckily for us, it went in the net, and you literally steal a point. So, it's one of those things that happens in soccer. You got to wash this off because, like you said, you have a massive match coming up this Saturday. You got the time slot at 2:00. You're going to have, it's obviously this the home opener. You're going to have hopefully upwards of 60 to 70,000 people in attendance, and you got Atlanta coming in with their shiny new toys, like you said. Miguel Almiron, Latte Loth has a brace on his debut, and this is a very, very, very electric attack that Atlanta United brings to the table, and you're going to have to combat that. You cannot just sit there and soak up this pressure because Atlanta will come in there and they'll beat you by 2 or 3 goals.
Sure. I mean, I'll just say, Seattle beat themselves in this game. They could have put the game away. Instead, they have a costly turnover in the midfield. Toklamati plays it strong, and then the own goal just, a rocket into the back of their net. I don't know what he was thinking. But we got lucky, man. And I say we watched it. We have discussed it. Let's put it behind us because there's not going to be a lot about this game to really take away or carry forward. And Atlanta is a completely different monster. It's going to require a different play style. It's going to be a mostly full house. We're expecting 70,000 plus at the bank, at the Fortress.
Another editor's note, we just received today while I was editing an update that Charlotte FC has sold 45,000 tickets so far. Expected attendance somewhere probably between 50 and 60,000, so less than we expected when we recorded this, unfortunately.
For the Seattle game, man, it's Malanda with a great header. I think that's a highlight. Pep Biel's corner kick, highlight. Christian Kalina got some saves in there. We really didn't have any shots on target in this game besides the header off a free kick or a corner kick. But
Well, I'm about to say, if you want to focus on any positive, you only had one shot on target, and it was a goal. So you're supremely efficient on shots on target.
well, and that's a huge asterisk because that's a set piece. That's not an actual open run and play. So I'm concerned about that attacking momentum. I think Zaha will open some things up. We need to see him. We need to see him at the level that we're expecting of him. And my biggest concern there is that this is MLS. You see players come in from international leagues all the time, every year, and there's always an adjustment period because they're not used to the physicality. We hear players that played in the championship, and just about all of them say that MLS is a more physical league. It just takes some time. Unfortunately, with the MLS season, if you drop some of these early contests and you give away points early in the season, that can really come back to bite you. If we had just picked up one extra point from our early season last year, that was the difference between being a home team and a road team in the playoff.
Yeah, and I mean, we got to do it, Luke. We got to do it. Who for this match? Who would get your Crown of the Day award?
Yeah, I have to give it to Pep Biel. I think we're seeing some really interesting development from him. I think having that time last year to kind of adapt to the league and then having the whole preseason, getting that chemistry. Ashley Westwood can't stop talking about how good Pep Biel is. I'm going to give it to Pep because I saw the flashes, I saw the talent there, and when the whole team is struggling, Pep Biel was the guy who stepped up and said, all right, I can put this on my back. I'll be the guy. And that's what I want to see. I want a team full of guys who can step up on any given day and be that superstar. So I'm giving it to Pep Biel. How about you?
Yeah, I mean, Pep's a great shout, obviously. But just obviously to be different, I'm going to go with Adilson Malanda. Obviously scores the header. That's two season opening goals in a row, back-to-back seasons for Addison by headers. Not only for that, because he was one of the brightest spots on this defensive back line Saturday night. So I'm going to give it to Malanda. We know what Malanda is and what he brings to the table. And while we got him here, we got to take advantage of it. So I'm going to give it to him. Scores a goal to tie it up 1-1 going into halftime. So I'm going to give it to him. With that being said, Luke, let's transition a little bit into some Atlanta United preview-ish. Obviously, Atlanta, we just talked about what they bring to the table. We talked about what Charlotte FC is going to be having going on this Saturday at 2 o'clock. So let's say we have a first-time listener who's not been to Charlotte FC, not been to the Bank of America Stadium and watched Charlotte FC in person. What would you tell them about the atmosphere they're going to be facing?
Yeah, obviously we haven't seen it with the Panthers in several years, but Bank of America can fit over 70,000 people inside, and that's what you're going to see. It's going to be a packed house, festive atmosphere, the biggest party in the Carolinas, as we like to say. Make sure you get there a few hours early. Enjoy the tailgating everywhere from the supporters lot, which is over on McNish Street. Can't miss it. It's like a giant festival atmosphere. You're going to have all the supporters groups there. They have family activities, bouncy houses. There's usually, brands out there giving away promos. If you want like energy drinks or beers, some grilled food, merchandise, whatever it might be, they got it out there at that big supporter lot. My personal favorite is going to be the alleyway across from the park. You got the Knight Stadium, Ramir Bearden Park, and then on the other side is the alleyway, which has it's called Lotta Arcade. And with Latte La coming to town, I'm not sure how much I like that naming coincidence. But some great bars like Belfast Mill. You got Hooligans. You got some really good, pizza by the slice. QC Bites has some great food. Highly recommend it. That alleyway is always full of people. So grab a drink, have a good time. And We usually stop at Hopfly Brewing, which is on the other side of the stadium, but it's a nice little short walk wherever you do tailgate. It's a pretty fun experience. There's a parade from the supporters lot to the stadium. It's a march. It's smoke bombs, a full band. You got folks going crazy. It's like you have to do that if you're a first timer. I'd highly recommend it. Then the game actually starts, which, the party before the game is fantastic. Don't get me wrong. But when the game actually starts, we have so many traditions and the entertainment value is so high that even if you have never watched a soccer game in your life, you will have a blast at Charlotte FC. We do Pepis, where, the song comes on, we all turn around, link our, arm over arm and jump, and the whole place will be shaking. It is magnificent to watch. We all sing the national anthem together after the very first game of Charlotte FC. The mic cut out during the national anthem, and everybody sang it. That became a tradition. We have a cryptic Queen music video type thing that hypes up the crowd before the game. It's like Game of Thrones. None of us know what it means, but it's provocative. It gets the people going.
Exactly.
Man, we got so many traditions. The game day experience is unmatched. And when the game actually starts, Charlotte FC is going to be loud. The supporter section is going to be chanting for 90 minutes, and the team will never play in silence. I cannot recommend it highly enough. It's become very important, like a cornerstone piece of my identity as being a Charlotte FC supporter. And Cole, I know you feel the same way, man. Like this is something we love. We do this because we love it. We love the team. We love the city, and this is really, opening match day is just a celebration of the team, of the city, of the fans, the community. So I'm excited. This is like a holiday for me.
Yeah, and I'll be honest with you, there's nothing I have not missed a opening match or opening home game for Charlotte FC since their existence. And I will say there's a different buzz that opening match. Looks like the weather is going to be absolutely phenomenal. Like I said, 2 o'clock kickoff, but it's supposed to be sunny and like 65 degrees. And I mean, there's going to be no better place to be if you're in the North South Carolina area. There's nowhere else you need to be on Saturday other than up there. We don't want to see a bunch of red in that stadium. We don't want to see a ton of Atlanta United fans. Let's pack this thing out with Charlotte FC fans and be behind these boys because they're going to need it. And not only that, man, you're going to get to watch Wilfred Zaha in his debut for this team, and I can't stress enough how big of a deal that is. And not only that, I mean, this is a match. It's not just any match. It's against Atlanta United. It's against that city, so it even has more meaning. And so this is, and you come off of a kind of lethargic result up in Seattle. Atlanta's coming off of a big win down in Atlanta, and so they're going to be riding high, and it's going to be our opportunity to kind of bring them back down to earth after their big signings. And I'm excited. I think, as far as how I see this match going, man.
Well,
I think
let's not spoil it all because I think we have an Atlanta preview episode coming up shortly. But yeah, it's going to be a challenge. And I don't know if you watched that Atlanta Montreal game.
I
That
did.
was
I watched.
fire.
I had it on the second screen. Yeah,
That was a good game, and Montreal was lucky to stay in it. But I mean, Atlanta with that new attack. Oof.
they're fast, man. They're very fast. It reminds me of a lot of Seattle's attack with Georgie and Jordan Morris. Man, it reminds me a lot of that. So that's my concern because Tim Ream scared me, man. I mean, Tim's ability to be able to pass long balls and to pass out of the back and stuff is top notch. But that is worrisome to me. I'm very intrigued to see the Tim Ream matchup. So we'll see we'll see what goes on.
Yeah, absolutely. And Miguel Almiron is going to see what he missed, man. We were pursuing him. Atlanta got him back, but he could have played in front of 70,000 cheering home fans in Charlotte, and he decided he'd rather play against 70,000 loud away fans in Charlotte. So, choices were made. But the coaching, I expect it to be back on point. And going back, Dean, we love you, man. In the words of the bard, all the small things, truth care, truth brings. I'll take
Yep.
one lift, your ride, best trip, always. We'll be at your show, Dino. We're here for you, baby.
Absolutely. I mean, it's in Dean we trust always. And yeah, man. And obviously, there's no USL going on at the moment. They're getting ready to kick things off in Greenville and the Independence and all that good stuff. So once that starts, we will be looking and taking a look at that each week. CONCACAF Champions Cup is going on right now. The plan is to have an episode drop covering that after the first round of game, and we know the round of 16 matchups. So be looking out for that. And guys, tune into the CONCACAF Champions Cup. Lionel Messi just scored an absolute worldie a few minutes ago. So just, we're going to have that coming out, and we got, hopefully we're going to be having a lot more content for you guys. So let's get this thing rolling, man. The season's here. We've already played a game. We're getting in the swing of things. Ready to be back in Bank of America on Saturday and be amongst it with 75 to 100,000 people outside of the stadium, and just have a good day, man. Have a good time. And yeah, I mean, Luke, you got anything else?
Yeah, we actually had a signing. We signed a left back, I believe, or a left-footed center back.
Yep.
And I don't know if the team has officially announced it. I'm not seeing it on their official news feed, but
No, it was just reported. It was reported by Top Ben.
yeah, top in 90. So that's exciting. We've been looking for a little bit more depth with that left back position specifically. João Pedro, we sent him out on loan, so he's no longer directly with the club at the moment. But it's one of those things, man. Left back, striker, attacking mid. We're kind of looking around the field to see where we can improve. We still have that open DP slot we can use in the summer window. So I think bringing in a player on loan should be fine. And getting a little bit more depth is always a good thing. So I'd be excited to see if and when the team announces that. They had the open practice yesterday on Monday, and I was not able to make it out to that. I had my kids and other stuff going on, but I heard it was a great experience for the diehards that were able to make it out. It made it feel like soccer is here, and it is, because Saturday we'll be out there at the bank. All right, cool. That's it for me, man. Carolina Ascent, I have been to a few of those games, the last two, as their spring season has started up. They're doing good. They need to put some teams away and get some points, but draws are fine. And the team is improved. I think they just need to figure a few things out. So Carolina sent second place in the East in the USL Super League, and they look like a solid playoff team at this point.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Again, guys, looking forward to it. Looking forward to seeing y'all out there. And we are planning on having an Atlanta United Charlotte FC actual preview episode with a special guest. So keep an eye out for that as well. And yeah, with that, man, it's for the crown.
For the crown.